People who fill out their 2020 census questionnaire will find a question that's drawing a lot of attention. Are you a U.S. citizen?
The U.S. Census Bureau says this citizenship data will help the Justice Department enforce the Voting Rights Act, which protects minority voting rights. But opponents say it will lead to an undercount in the population, and that would affect everything from federal funding for certain programs to political representation in Congress. A coalition of 19 attorneys general are challenging the question, saying it violates the U.S. Constitution and federal statutes.
Well, this morning, the Department of Commerce put out a statement saying it's concerned about an accurate count of the voting age population and protecting minority rights, and that, quote, having citizenship data at the census block level will permit more effective enforcement of the VRA, the Voting Rights Act. Certainly, some states could get undercounted, especially California, and that could threaten at least one of California's seats in the House because of the immigrant population here, and you can only imagine the political uproar over that.
This is a question that's been included in every census since 1965, with the exception of 2010 when it was removed. We've contained this question that's provided data that's necessary for the Department of Justice to protect voters and specifically to help us better comply with the Voting Rights Act, which is something that is important and a part of this process. And again, this is something that has been part of the census for decades and something that the Department of Commerce felt strongly needed to be included again.
We had the citizenship question on the census up until 1950. It was dropped. It didn't appear in the 1960 census because we had such low levels of immigration. And then it was put back on in 1970 in the long form. And this is the key detail, Mika, because the long form census is a deep dive into the statistical details of various socioeconomic status indicators, but only about 16% of the population gets the long form. So the vast majority of Americans get the census short form, which is what we know of as the census.
Say exactly that we don't take anyone in our state for granted because they all work hard, they all make life better, and without each and every person who lives in our state, we would lose out on the things that we consider precious to our family and to our lives.
It's illegal to ask the question. It is illegal to give the impression that one is required to answer the question. So basically, when the census people come knocking, they're only entitled to force you to answer one thing. How many people live there?
Breaking news, that mysterious meeting overseas, North Korean leader making that surprise visit to China in extreme secrecy, his first trip out of the country since he took power.
I think that Xi chose to sit down with Kim Jong-un now.
Well, as I was kind of saying before, China sees itself as a great power in the region, as central to any outcomes on the Korean Peninsula, and they risked being bypassed in this process now. So they've been fairly clear over the years what they want. They want a peace treaty to end the Korean War. They want a normalization of relations with the United States. They want the lifting of economic pressure. But there's something of a chicken and egg problem, because a mistake the United States has made in the past is lifting the pressure against North Korea too early, and that's allowed North Korea to have its cake and eat it too, to keep the nuclear program and to get sanctions relief. So I think the Trump administration is committed to keeping the economic pressure on until North Korea denuclearized.
We're going to be cautiously optimistic, but we feel like things are moving in the right direction, and that the meeting yesterday was a good indication that the maximum pressure campaign has been working. You saw him leave for the first time since becoming the leader of North Korea, leaving his country for the first time for that meeting, and we consider that to be a positive sign that the maximum pressure campaign is continuing to work, and we're going to continue moving forward in this process in hopes for a meeting down the road.
By the end of May, by the way, we were talking about May. That's still sort of the goal, right?
Certainly, we would like to see this. Obviously, this is something of a global importance, and we want to make sure that it's done as soon as we can, but we also want to make sure it's done properly and we're working towards that goal. As we've said before, the North Koreans have made that offer, and we've accepted, and we're moving forward in that process.
The meeting came at the invitation of China's President Xi Jinping, who said that Kim told him that he was open to a potential meeting with President Trump and was committed to the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. Kim is believed to have nuclear weapons that could reach the U.S. And just a short time ago, President Trump reacted to the meeting, tweeting, "For years and through many administrations, everyone said that peace and the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula was not even a small possibility. Now there is a good chance that Kim Jong-un will do what is right for his people and for humanity. Look forward to our meeting." That's right, Robin. Reports this morning and satellite images show emissions from a smokestack that indicate that North Korea is finally activating its new reactor at Yongbyon. More things to negotiate if and when that meeting actually happens, Robin.
All right.
China is sending a message, I think. It said, President Xi of China said that their friendship with North Korea was a strategic decision and that would continue under any circumstances. So I think they're worried with Bolton that there's going to be a war, and I think they're giving us a message that they're going to back North Korea. They've already made an explicit statement in the past that if North Korea misbehaves, China won't back them. But if the United States just attacks unilaterally North Korea, China will back them. And of course, China is a nuclear power, and they do have missiles that can hit the United States for sure.